Jamal Hill is a guy in this 205 division that is very interesting to me. He went from being a champion, being the guy, to now fighting outside of the top 5 in a kind of must-win battle against Khalil Roundtree. How does Jamal Hill go from being a champion to now fighting outside the top 5 in a must-win match? Well, it happens from 2 losses and 2 very impactful knockout losses. 2 knockouts that happened sort of because of the same issue and the same revolving issue that's going on in Jamal Hill's game in general. Now, before I say that, I must talk about who Jamal Hill is. And Jamal Hill should be everyone's favorite fighter. He has a sprawl and brawl mentality where he defends takedowns or defends any sort of wrestling to then brawl it out and have a striking affair and eventually get the knockout. We saw in his up-and-coming rise to the 205 division just completely steamroll some guys and show he has so much aggression and so much power in those hands that it's either you have to respect it or you have to succumb to the knockout. And yet with such a favorable and lovable fighting style, he isn't loved at all. He gets hated every single day. Jamal Hill is one of the more hated UFC fighters. And why is that? That's from the shit talk that he has said. He has talked so much trash to one of the more beloved UFC fighters we have ever seen in Alex Pereira. And it backfired. And I think that was the worst thing to happen, is the fact that it backfired, because it backfired on the biggest stage of them all. It just looked so stupid. It was such a fluky sort of knockout, the way it looked. It looked very Looney Tunes-esque. And then after the fight, when you hear Jamal Hill bring up this, that, and the third of all these different excuses.
I was expecting the ref to come in, separate us. All right, you guys good? You know what I mean? And you do your touch, you do your little step back, and then you get back to it. That's what I was expecting to happen. You know, it's protect yourself at all times. I will say that. It is protect yourself at all times. I should have been on my square, should have been on my own, aware of the gritty competitor and what, you know what I mean? And what I was, and what was happening, what was really happening, not get thrown off my square to where it's like that. You know what I mean? It's protect yourself at all times. I don't give a fuck if they offer me a title shot. It's me and you. You win, I'm gonna go starch the next guy, and I'll see you soon.
It then gets to a point where you become the laughingstock of this 205 division, and that's exactly what he has become. When you look at this 205 division, Jamal Hill almost gets brushed off as this sort of laughing, this guy shit talks, but he's gonna lose sort of fighter, when this guy has so much power and so much conviction in his punches. He can end the fight in any second. And that's the key. And that's the key difference of Jamal Hill's fights every single time he steps in there. His power and his punches are just beautiful. He has very crisp boxing when he wants, because he has an ability to brawl. And when he does brawl, he does get a little wild sometimes. But overall, his striking game has proved to be very good in this 205 division, even though you do see some very common flaws that certain fighters have capitalized on. His main flaw being his footwork. If you look at Jamal Hill's footwork, it looks like a beginner. It looks like a guy who has never fought in his life. He's crossing his feet 24/7. He is not making the proper movements and proper angles towards certain ways. And it's caught him a lot. In the Jiří fight, I felt like Jamal Hill would have won that fight if he just had basic footwork in him. The knockout itself, the lead hook, was an overextension that got Jamal Hill right into the range of Procházka and got the knockout. If Jamal Hill didn't overreach or didn't have that footwork failure, he wouldn't have gotten knocked out. He wouldn't have gotten rocked. And that's the issue with Jamal Hill in general, is the fact that he just gets himself in certain positions that are not favorable, and his footwork isn't good enough to move away from it. And another thing that I've seen change drastically is his physique. I know he's in the 205 division where he doesn't have to cut much weight, but look at him before the Thiago Santos fight, and now look at him after the Jiří fight or during the Jiří fight. I get it. Not the craziest physique that he was having before, but he was coming into these fights a lot fitter than what he was coming into the Jiří Procházka fight as. He was a lot quicker as well. I don't know if that is something to do with his nutrition. I don't know if that's something to do with himself thinking that weighing in more or having a little bit more body fat on him feels a little better. I just don't get it. He was a lot better looking physique wise and was a lot more polished in his striking than what he is now. And Jamal Hill's back is definitely against the wall in this one. He's going up against a pretty favorable matchup as he's dealing with another striker in Khalil Roundtree who can put his lights out in any minute. It's going to be a super entertaining fight, but if Jamal Hill loses this, where does he go from here? He is now lost to 3 guys in the 205 division who are all now not holding the title. He had never fought Magomed Ankalaev, and now he's lost to the top 5. Where does he go? Does he fight a top 10 guy after this? Does he go from wherever he does? If he wins, where does he go? He is in such a very limbo state of this 205 division because of the placement that he put himself in. He talked so much trash to Alex and got knocked out in a very comical way that no one probably wants to see that fight. The Yuri fight we already saw. Dominic Reyes maybe after this fight if he wins or loses. But if he loses, Jamal Hill went from a title holder to now just fringing in the top 5 or maybe in the top 8. It's a real fall from grace if you really think about it. But it's all determining down to if he wins that fight. And you can let me know in the comments what you think that fight is going to end like. And when you look at Jamal Hill's past wins, it kind of has some asterisks to it. It's very hard to really determine where Jamal Hill is in this 205 division because his wins before then are guys who aren't even in the UFC now. Thiago Santos is gone. He was an old guy when he did fight Jamal Hill either way. A very shell of his former self. That's what cracked him into the top 5. And then he fights Glover for the belt, a guy who was in his early 40s who was, yes, at the top of the world at the time, but was still an aging 205er. Jamal Hill swooped in at the perfect time to become champion, and when he did, he tore his Achilles. He had to relinquish the belt, and that's when it kind of went haywire, this 205 division. And it kind of left him behind. Jamal Hill has now not had really any noticeable wins and has had really noticeable losses. And so with his back against the wall, it's interesting to see if he's able to bounce back. If he's able to beat Khalil Roundtree in fashion, he might have one shot or one more fight away from a title shot. But if he loses, what's going on with Jamal Hill? He's not going to be in the top 5. He's going to have to fight a top 10 guy. So for me, this Saturday, this is a very big make or break moment for Jamal Hill. I feel like it determines where he's going to be at in the rest of this 205 tenure. Whether he's going to be fighting for a belt or he's going to be fighting top 10 guys. It's going to be interesting to see. Loved or hated, he does have a very exciting style, and I would definitely tune in to Saturday to watch him fight. Otherwise, it's been Santi, it's been Studs.